podcast? Is it an award-winning hit? Don't ask Alenka, 'cause she isn't on it.
Yeah. Welcome to the Haven't Seen It podcast. This is the podcast where we bring people on the show and we get them really drunk and they tell me about a movie that I've never seen before.
That was so subdued, Alenka.
I know, because the song really set the mood, so I decided...
Is it because at any moment you might just throw up?
No, but also, on that note, you guys, so one, obviously it's Oscars, whatever, month maybe or something. I don't know.
It's
with
Oscar
something
month.
about the Oscars.
Oscar.
So the song really set me up into some kind of mood, and then also, it might be a panic attack, but like I've got a hard time breathing right now. So if at any point during the stream or during the recording you hear like, it's literally just me trying to breathe.
You know, if
everybody
you
stay calm. I'm fine. Worst case.
No, but if you do that, I'll just mimic it so no one will know who's doing it.
Right.
I'll just go.
Yeah. Do that. Even though.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. Okay.
I'm Will.
Fine.
And it is Oscar month.
Woo! I got it. That was me breathing. That wasn't me cheering.
You did it. Yay.
Sorry.
All right.
It's exciting.
We are joined by a very special guest, returning guest, all the way from like episode 14, 16, something in the teens. We have Danny Morrison, a.k.a. Mutant Museum.
So my YouTube channel is all about dramatic readings of fiction. Some of it is hilariously bad stuff, like I've got this novel-length piece of shit Legend of Zelda fanfic going right now.
Nice.
But I'm also mixing that up, alternating with Beowulf, which is a great piece of writing. And I've been reading a lot of pulp adventure stories from like magazines from the 50s and 60s lately, and that's super cool. I just recently read the famous story, Weasels Ripped My Flesh, which was a big influence on Frank Zappa.
Okay.
Wow. That's interesting.
It's about a man whose flesh is ripped by weasels.
I don't want to be that
I
man.
would have never guessed.
It's a bad time.
Never.
All right.
So, on that note, what are you telling us the story of today?
Well, last time I was on the show, we were talking about Crimson Peak.
I remember because I was traumatized.
You do?
Yep.
This one's a little less traumatic and more nice, but we are still talking about Guillermo del Toro. I am the del Toro guy. I share a birthday with him, in fact.
Oh, my God.
And
Do that.
we're talking, because it is Oscar month, we're talking about the Best Picture winning classic romantic film, The Shape of Water.
Is it a romance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's a romance.
Oh, yeah.
See, I thought it would be, and are we there yet? Do I get to talk about what I know?
No,
Yeah?
not yet.
Damn it.
Why did you choose this one? Other than Del Toro, we know that. But why did you choose this?
Well, it's one of my favorite movies ever made, to be honest. I think the leading actress is a total babe.
Nice.
And I've always had a long and abiding love of, hideous fishman swamp monsters.
Right.
Nice.
So seeing one finally, get to be the hero and get with Sally Hawkins, that's a lifelong ambition of mine. So
Is to be a
finally
fishman with
finally
Sally
got
Hawkins.
made. No, just to see it happen.
Just to see it. Yeah.
It's a lifelong ambition finally realized.
Just to be the voyeur in the corner.
Yeah.
Well, peep the shirt, everyone. Peep his shirt.
Yes.
There you go.
That's nice.
You can't see it because
Yeah.
it's the creature from the Black Lagoon. I love the creature from the Black Lagoon. And this is a movie
your
where he
second
finally gets to be the
favorite
hero. It's actually not one of my favorite movies, but he is one of my favorite characters.
Okay.
It is a very the original Creature from the Black Lagoon is really good, but it's not in my top 4.
All right. Well, I can't remember. I don't think I saw this in theaters. I think I saw this home video. But I really enjoyed it the first time I watched it.
I saw it in theaters, not just I saw it at TIFF. It was the red carpet, so Del Toro was there, and the cast were there, and apparently Benedict Cumberbatch and Ron Perlman were there.
Oh, wow.
They're not in the movie.
No.
But they
Just hanging out.
they were just
Yeah.
also there. And it was I saw it at the Royal Alexandra Theatre, which is this beautiful old-timey theater here in Toronto.
But they filmed inside, didn't they? Or no, they filmed inside the
We're-
pan. No, what's
They do. I was going to save that for later. But yes, we saw it in a theater that is also in the movie. So it created a little bit of a, the cocoa jar with the nurse holding the cocoa jar with the nurse holding the cocoa jar, and it goes on forever. It created a bit of that effect.
Where you're like, I'm in
Right.
the space they filmed
Yeah.
over and over.
You're looking through the screen. You can see the room that is between you and the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know it's romance now.
Well, so
You know something about sea creatures.
So, may I?
Yes, you may.
Speaking of being in the room that it's been filmed in, I used to work at the Lakeview restaurant, which is how I know this
Also
movie
in the movie?
exists at all. Maybe we'll work there again one day. But that's besides the point. That's how I know this movie exists. See, by the name, I thought it was, in fact, a romance. And I hadn't really thought about much else about it. I feel like maybe I'm confusing this with another potential movie that was filmed in the Lakeview, but somebody getting shot up in a booth.
There have been
A few.
quite a
Few.
I
Yeah.
believe
That was
Cocktail
Boondock Saints
Co-
movie.
was Boondock Saints filmed at the Lakeview. Cool.
Yeah, it was.
Cocktail,
Right.
the Tom Cruise movie, was
There
filmed
was
there,
a
I believe.
sandwich named Boondock Fish Witch based off that. They're just trying to milk it.
Milk sandwich. Ugh.
Milk sandwich. But yeah, I thought it was a romance based off the name, but then I saw the poster had a fishman on it. So I was like, I was going to joke on here. I was like, oh, it's going to be like a romantic movie about this woman and this fish. And it is.
No, you
I
called
guess.
it. That is
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
So
Fishman love.
that's,
Yeah.
I guess that's the general premise of what I imagine it to be. I guess, maybe what happens is she goes to the lake, cabin on the lake with her man. Man gets, her man's an abusive narcissist. And then the swamp monster, am I having a stroke? No. The swamp monster comes out of the lake and he saves her, and then they fall in love, and then they are in love.
I would also watch that movie. That
Okay.
You're not too far off,
Perfect.
and the movie you're describing does sound really good.
Yeah, I know. I'm a director. I'm a writer.
All right, so
It's not super far off.
Cool.
But yeah, we'll get to it. But before that, let
Yes.
me describe the drink.
Right.
I call this, I believe it's a line from the movie, but it's either the future is green or green is the future, however you want to call it.
I like green is the future.
This
words
is
along those lines.
this is a like a key lime pie cocktail. I'll hold it up for everyone to see.
I assume it tastes better than the key lime pie that the Lakeview serves in the movie.
in the movie, maybe I don't know.
Does it or doesn't it?
I don't know. Let me. Let me
I've
describe
served
it.
those Pies.
This is
Made
this
them
got
into milkshakes.
it's got vodka in it for story reasons.
Yes, yes.
It's also got some rum in it for flavor reasons. It's
There are
got,
no pirates in this movie.
no, there's no pirates, but it's just got rum in it.
It's just about everything else, though.
It's got pineapple juice for flavor reasons. It's got egg whites in it for story reasons.
Sure.
And it's got
Sure.
whipping cream as well in it
Oh.
for pie reasons.
Sure.
And we top that off with a graham cracker crumble
For pie reasons.
for pie reasons, which are also story reasons.
yes.
So
the pie has story
yeah.
reasons.
So, do you guys get it?
Yeah. Do you get it?
There's a bit in this movie where they're eating pie. There are several bits.
What? I'm just kidding.
That's not a huge spoiler.
Well, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It doesn't make
Oh,
me
and
wanna-
there's lime juice, obviously, for lime pie
lime pie.
reason stories.
Sure.
Yeah. Lime pie reason stories.
and a little bit of blue and yellow food coloring to get that greenish.
to get that greenish,
Oh, that's
greenish
natural.
bluish tinted. That's supernatural.
Super
And
natural.
I also
hunting
might have
people,
added
hunting things and saving people, the family business.
exactly
That's supernatural.
for more lime flavor. I might have also poured in a little bit of lime Doritos that I had. So
Doritos?
Jarrito, like the drink,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Mexican.
yeah, yeah.
I think it's
Cold
Harito.
yum.
Is it Jaritos?
I don't know,
How do you
man.
go?
It's with an eight. It's
I
a
said
J,
it
so you
white,
say the J
white
like-
person.
Yeah, I
So-
think you're right.
I
Yes,
said
but our
Jarritos.
film was directed by a Mexican, so we got to be right about
That's
these
true.
things.
That's true. He is a Mexican man.
He's from.
He's the first Mexican who won. He did win Best Director. No,
He did.
He did. Yeah.
He won Best Picture.
I remember
Best
there's
Director for
been
this
some
movie.
years where the Best Picture winner also didn't win Best Director, which is kind of bullshit.
It feels like they should really be one award. But I don't know.
Yeah, they should be both. Anyway, That's the drink. Make it at home if you want.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's not too bad, actually. I was worried about the egg whites, but it all worked out.
Yeah, usually they do in beverages.
But, Danny,
Yes.
how does this movie start?
If I were to describe the opening scene from The Shape of Water to you, where would I begin?
The opening scene. Yeah.
Would I start with the opening monologue delivered by Richard Jenkins, which I am currently parodying? Or would I describe the visuals on screen of an apartment building flooded with water, fish swimming through floating furniture? Or would I describe the actual narrative information that is being imparted to you when we are introduced to our main character, Eliza Esposito, played by the gorgeous, incredibly sexy Sally Hawkins? Did you see the Paddington movies?
No.
Okay. All right, she's a babe.
I'm assuming she's in the
Breaks
Paddington
character completely, so genuinely. Did you see the Paddington?
They're so good. All right, so Eliza wakes up in the late evening to her alarm clock. She doesn't sleep on a bed. She sleeps on this chaise lounge in the middle of this beautifully decorated but idiosyncratically decorated apartment, let's say. And she's making herself breakfast in the form of some eggs. She's boiling herself an egg. And while the egg boils, she sets an egg timer. And she goes into the bathroom. And as she undresses, we see that she has 3 scars on either side of her neck. And she gets into the tub, and she starts to masturbate.
And that's the opening scene.
In
That's the opening scene.
In the scars?
No,
No, she's not
just regular
masturbating the
type.
scars.
Just regular masturbation.
I thought like fish. I thought she had like fish gills.
Like she's just like,
I don't know. I
Scratching her
haven't
neck.
seen it.
No, this isn't a Cronenberg movie. And then she gets up and she has her eggs and she gets dressed and she goes across the hall where we meet her roommate, not her roommate, her neighbor, Giles, who is played by Richard Jenkins. And he is a kindly middle-aged gay man that is in the middle.
we don't know he's gay yet, but
Okay, it's not a spoiler.
no, it's not a spoiler because it happens pretty quickly.
We do learn. You're right. We do learn for sure that he is gay very soon, and he's painting a family eating Jello, and it's clearly supposed to be like one of those big like full page ads in a magazine because the year is 1963, and Kennedy's still alive, and we're in Baltimore, and he's doing this.
Baltimore.
Yeah, by Baltimore I mean Toronto and sometimes Hamilton. He's painting this print ad, and he's talking to her, but she is replying entirely in sign language because she is mute. He also is surrounded in cats. He's got like at least 5 of them.
But I think, but it's kind of clear just from like body language and stuff that she's not deaf. She just can't.
Yeah,
She can't speak.
She can hear every word he's saying clearly. So she. Sorry, I've got some little notes on my phone just so I can remember the order of the scene. Also, they live above a movie theater,
That's fun.
and by a movie theater,
We mean Massey Hall, right? No.
Elgin. I said Royal Alexander earlier. I'm wrong. It's the Royal Elgin Theater.
The inside is the Royal Elgin, but the exterior, I believe, is Massey Hall.
Yes, I think you're right. I think you're right. And it's, as I've said, it's nighttime. She woke up late in the evening because she works nights. And she heads out she catches the bus to go to work, and she works at a place called the Ockham facility.
She works for the big bad government.
Yeah, it's a top secret government facility where they're doing top secret government things. And
All to stop the Ruskies.
all to stop the Ruskies. The year is 1963, and she's a janitor. She is cleaning this facility, and when
Along with her best friend, not Giles, but Octavia Spencer.
Yes, who plays a character named Zelda, and they meet up at work, and we see them cleaning stuff. We see all the stuff around the facility they're cleaning. We see Zelda dusting this gigantic rocket-looking thing, and I would say they're making small talk, but Zelda is talking, and Eliza occasionally responds with some sign language. I just want to take a moment to say that Sally Hawkins is not mute herself. She learned sign language for the role, but she delivers all of it with, all of the hand gestures are made with like the confidence of a pro. You could truly believe she'd been doing this her whole life.
Yeah, I think like because she wasn't as well known, like in the mainstream.
Not super well known, no.
Before this movie, even though she had a huge career before this movie.
She'd been in things, but
So a lot of people were like, "Is she actually mute?" And
Yeah.
it's like, no.
And they're brought into this new lab where this big water tank has been set up, and the head of security, whose name is Mr. Fleming, and he's this very like jittery, neurotic man, and he says, I don't want to overstate the importance, but the asset that is going to be housed in this lab is without a doubt the most sensitive asset that we have ever housed at this facility. And he introduces a new person who's taking over as head of security, and his new boss, whose name is Mr. Strickland. I think actually Colonel Strickland.
Is it Colonel? He's a colonel.
I think so.
Full-fledged
I don't.
colonel.
I think so.
Either way, it's Michael Shannon.
It's Michael Shannon.
Who, if I'm thinking hard about it, I think we've only seen Michael Shannon as
Sounds
Eminem's mom's boyfriend in 8 Mile. In terms of movies we've covered, I don't think he's been in anything else we've covered.
Did he get any
Yucky.
spaghetti?
We did. We ate spaghetti.
Okay.
We don't like him.
Eminem's boyfriend's
got a
mom's.
face.
Wait, no.
No, Eminem's mom's boyfriend. Did I say boyfriend's mom? Or
No,
mom?
I did. Freudian slip.
Mom's boyfriend.
He would not be pleased with that. And we're also introduced to. These are very brief introductions. We don't actually know these people, but Fleming is kind of introducing these people to the room. We meet another person who's been brought in, Dr. Robert Hofstetler, played by Michael Stuhlbarg, if you know him.
Nope.
No.
And okay, and he is a expert scientist who's come in to examine the asset, whatever that might be.
It's a fish. It's a big fish, man.
It is a very handsome fish.
Very handsome.
So then I guess it's the next morning. Eliza and Giles go out to eat some
Lakeview.
pie. They go to the Lakeview restaurant.
Which is like, it's like so cool because I've seen like set photos
Dundas West.
from Dundas and Ossington, I believe it is, like where they filmed and like the way they just digitally make it look so cool. Just like even just streets, you're like, that's the intersection, but somehow everything is so different.
Yeah.
Just blows your mind,
It's
doesn't it?
it's not just that they made Toronto look like Baltimore, because like sure, it's that they
I don't know Baltimore enough to be like, yeah, that's Baltimore.
Right.
it's that they made 2017 or 16 or whenever they filmed this look like the early 60s.
Yeah.
And Giles has a little bit of a crush on the guy behind the counter there. Who
It
is
was me.
selling the pies. No, it's definitely a man.
Me.
You're actually in the background. Like,
He's got this like
me.
fake Southern accent
Me.
because he's making chit chat with Giles, who's like clearly into this guy, and he says that like, oh, they tell us all to put on these Southern accents because the place is called Dixie Doug's, but I'm actually from Iowa.
no, he actually says, I'm from Ottawa.
I was never clear whether he
Oh.
says Ottawa or Iowa.
Oh, I had it the subtitles
Okay.
on, so I'm assuming it was Ottawa.
Okay.
I also whenever movies are filmed in Canada,
They
like
drop
I'm like, is
reference
there like Canadian media law that states like
You gotta
there's
at
got to
least
be
mention us?
enough references, like,
Yeah.
because whenever like a movie that's like you wouldn't know that was filmed in Canada just happens to have a weird like Canadian reference. I'm like, is that because it was filmed in Canada and it was required? like
Right.
you have to reference.
Not that I
Canada.
know of, but I when I watched it, I always thought he said Ottawa, but when I watched it the other day for this episode, it sounded like Iowa. But
He says Ottawa.
Okay.
But agree to disagree about Ottawa.
I mean, it's quite ambiguous. And so let's see. They go back to the apartment and they're eating these pies with Giles's cat, and it is very clear that Eliza does not much care for this pie,
It's
and
disgusting.
Giles doesn't either.
It's also like
he can't finish
this
it, and
is
he's got a
key
whole
lime pie,
fridge full
but
of
it's
them.
like gelatin. This
Yeah.
pie is like Jello.
Yeah, food in the '60s was awful. Is my
it's all
understanding.
space food. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a whole fridge full of like unfinished slices of pie.
Yeah.
because he can't bring himself to actually eat it, but he also wants to keep going back there to keep talking to the guy. And because it's the '60s. If you're gay and you want to make connections, you have no way of knowing who is safe to talk to. So he's very carefully scoping this whole situation out. And he's also extremely, because he's kind of an older guy, he's very self-conscious about his toupee that he has acquired.
We see like when they're walking across the street, you realize at first because I forgot about that part. I was like, who's that guy? And then you realize, oh, he's wearing a toupee.
He's got a
Who's that
toupee,
dude?
and it makes him look. It looks good on him. It looks really good. So then, I guess it's the next day or the next night, and Eliza is at work, and she's cleaning a bathroom with Zelda, and they're talking about. Well, Zelda is talking about how somehow there are pee stains on the ceiling.
Darn.
You'd think a man would learn how to aim by
Has she
now.
mentioned her husband at this point yet? or
Yeah,
no?
she's been talking a fair bit about her useless layabout husband
Yeah.
Brewster, who is they are both working full-time jobs. It is the 60s. Women have to work now, but he also still expects her to
Right.
be a full-time homemaker on top of that, which is unfair.
Like that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then Strickland comes in.
Mr. Strickland,
to,
Michael Shannon.
Yeah, and he comes in and he washes his hands first, right? Or
He
no?
washes his hands
Yes, first.
first, then he takes a pee,
Just holding his hips.
just holding his hips, and then Eliza hands him a towel, and he's like, "Oh, no, thank you, no, thank you. A man washes before or after tending to his needs. It tells you a lot about his character.
If he does both.
It's a sign of weakness."
Yeah, he's the weirdest character actually in this
And-
movie. And there's a fishman in this movie.
And they're like, he comes in the middle of their conversation. He's like, "Oh, don't mind me. Girl talk, no doubt. Keep talking." And he's so weird and condescending. Also, he has a gigantic cattle prod with him. That's like this big, and people can't hear me. It's like a 3-foot cattle prod.
See
People
you.
can't see me.
Yeah.
He's got a 3-foot.
So Danny just gestured his hands and about a 3-foot.
It was
width.
this
Right.
big.
Yeah.
He has a gigantic cattle prod with him, and he's talking about how oh, that thing is such a powerful cattle prod. You can zap anything you want with it. So why would he have a cattle prod? That's weird.
Very. Still a mystery at this point. If you don't know what
Okay.
the movie's about.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the poster of the
Yeah.
ad.
So then we see them there. It's kind of cut later. They're in the hallway. Again, these are big, almost like missile style
Yeah.
hallways, industrial. They're definitely underground. And they're cleaning up, and then suddenly there's just alarms ringing, and Strickland
they
walks
sound
out.
the alarm.
Oh no, they sound the alarm, but Strickland
Strickland-
walks out just bloody, holding his hand.
And 2 of his fingers are missing.
Yeah. And is just on the ground, and then everyone
They sound the alarm, and they are sent in there to clean because there's blood all over the place. And the first thing that happens is that Eliza finds his 2 severed fingers, and for want of anywhere to put them, she puts them in a little bag that she had eaten her lunch out of earlier, so they get stained with mustard.
that had an egg in it.
That's
Yeah.
gross.
And then Zelda takes the bag and runs to show everyone, "Hey, I found the fingers." And while she's out of the room, something starts moving in the big water tank. And Eliza looks through, and we, for a second, catch a glimpse of an amazing fishman.
Fishman.
Played
Alenka.
by
Who do you think plays the fishman?
Bradley
Chevy
Cooper.
Chase.
Chevy Chase.
Is it Bradley Cooper?
No.
Oh.
Here's a hint. He has to wear an elaborate fishman costume for the
Oh,
entire
it's
movie.
that guy.
It's that guy. It's Doug Jones.
That guy.
Doug Jones.
Doug.
It's the great Doug Jones.
Sorry.
Slim, muscular.
He's like 60 now.
Weird Doug Jones,
It's fine.
who
Works
only
for him.
plays monsters.
Mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
He was only a zombie in
And
Hocus Pocus.
old ghost women
Yes.
in Crimson Peak. So yeah, that's our first glimpse of Sexy Fishman.
Sexy Fishman. You know Handsome Squidward?
Yeah.
What Handsome Squidward is to regular Squidward, this guy
Yeah.
is to the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Okay, nice.
He is
Think of that,
Right.
but
Hot.
Zaddy
he's got
Fishman.
Hot.
soft kissable lips, and a strong chin. And
Very weird.
apparently
It is very weird.
on set, I'm gonna take a brief segue here because I think it's funny. Doug Jones is standing around on set in his big fish outfit, and apparently every time Octavia Spencer walked past him, she would sneak a little peek at his booty.
Yeah.
And he would always say "Octavia, are you looking at my ass again?" And she'd be like, "Yes, I am. Keep on walking, Doug."
Wow.
Fishman. He got big gills. Okay.
Well, that's not all he's got, but we'll get to that.
What happens next week?
Next, we follow Giles to work.
Oh, yes.
Giles works at an ad agency. Side note, this is the town hall in Hamilton, Ontario.
I was wondering, I was like, I don't know what that
He doesn't actually work there, but he's doing contract work for them there. And
He used to work there or something. We kind of find out.
it's implied, because he's talking to the guy who used to be his boss, it's implied they had some kind of an affair.
Oh, really?
I
did
got
not
that
get
sense.
that.
It's also definitely made clear that he had a drinking problem at some point.
And that he had
But-
to leave, and that
I get an X's vibe
his
off,
old boss
off
has
of the
to
two
like,
of them.
yeah, his old boss has to like convince people to let him do some work.
Yeah, and
for
he's
this
brought
ad.
this Jello painting he did, and his old boss, whose name is Bernie, says to him like, the Jello is red. Don't make it red. Make it green. Paint it over as green, and then maybe we're somewhere. And so Giles goes home, and I guess he's trying to paint the thing green.
And the big thing is like they're like I had to convince them to go with a painting. They want a photograph because now it's photography and
photograph.
advertising's the big thing. You
Right.
know,
And
photography.
Eliza, Eliza is now cleaning the lab where the fishman is, and she gets her first, I would say, like really good look at him. He comes up like out of the water when she's eating a boiled egg, which we've established she likes,
Right.
and she offers him one,
It's weird.
and he's tentative, but he eventually takes it, and she teaches him the ASL for egg, which is this.
Ooh,
And then after she leaves, he starts doing that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a
And-
sexy motion right there.
Yeah.
And then she and Zelda get called into Strickland's office, and she gives Strickland back his fingers.
Great.
No, his ring. His
Oh
fingers
yeah, his
are
ring.
attached
He's got-
now.
his,
and he's got-
his fingers have been. You're right. His
Yeah.
fingers have been sewn on, but it's. He says like they're not quite sure if it's going to take yet. They had to rebuild all the muscle
Right.
tissue and nervous tissue. She gives him back his wedding ring. And he's talking about. He tells them about like the thing that is in that lab. That thing is an affront. It may look a little bit
Abomination.
human. You know what affront is, and he's like really condescending because he assumes Zelda doesn't know what words mean. And
That doesn't happen anymore.
sure doesn't. And
What are you
he
talking about? What are you talking? Oh.
he's talking about the creature, and he says like the thing that's in there, that is an affront. It's not human. We're made in the Lord's image. You don't think God looks like that, do you? And Zelda
She
says,
might.
I wouldn't presume to know what God looks like, sir. And he says, he looks like me. Maybe like you, but probably more like me. And he's going over their files as employees, and he said he's quite rude to Zelda, but like, Zelda, you're an only child. That's not common with your people, is it? He's just like,
He's racist.
it's the '60s, and
you know,
he's a
bigot,
racist white
religious.
man.
Yeah.
And we also get a little bit of backstory on Eliza. We learn that she was raised in an orphanage, and they found her by the side of the river.
Oh, dang.
And they took her into this
Dang.
orphanage when she was a tiny baby, and the scars on her neck were already there, and that's presumably why she's mute, is that someone apparently slashed her vocal cords when she was a baby.
Okay.
And that's why she can't talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he talks a little bit about his experience with the creature, which he says he hauled up out of a river somewhere in South America and drug it all the way up to Baltimore. And along the way, we didn't get to like each other too much. And
right.
then, you know how we followed Giles to work earlier? Now we're following Strickland home from work.
Yeah.
He arrives at work in the morning because he works night shift, so his kids are just about ready to go to school. And his son is saying to him, like, Dad, at school we're building a time capsule, you know, for the future. Do you think in the future we're going to have jetpacks? And Strickland's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
believe it, son, this is America.
Yeah, he does. He just sits there staring straight forward.
He's-
Just straight, just like, believe it.
He's like,
And then, like, there's a
shows
big pause.
no affection to
This
his
is
family.
America.
No affection at all to his family. And they're like something out of a sitcom.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then his wife is like,
Wash your hands.
wash your hands, and then
Meet me
comes
upstairs.
And then, so they're having some sex.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Only
then-
after she sniffs his fingers to make sure they're nice and clean.
Okay.
And then like his fingers start bleeding, and she's like, honey, your hand's bleeding. And he like starts covering up her mouth and is like, don't talk.
He's like, silence. I only like silence.
Yeah.
because this is America.
Creep.
Yeah, he's strange.
Yeah, like again, in a movie
We
with
don't like that.
in a movie with a sexy fishman, he is the strangest character in this movie.
Right.
Well, that's what's interesting is if the movie were made in the time period it's set, he'd be the hero.
Yeah.
In fact, in the second Creature from the Black Lagoon movie, which is called Revenge of the Creature, the hero has a giant cattle prod that he uses to torture the creature.
Oh shit! But
So-
he's the hero.
But he's the hero. The good guy. That's messed up. So then we get like this montage.
By the way, count it 2 drink references now. We've got the
Right.
key lime pie, and then we've got the eggs, the egg whites. And we're still waiting on the last.
Why would there be vodka? So then we get this montage of Eliza bonding with the creature, and she's giving him some eggs, and she's playing records for him, and she's got like these like big band records and some Carmen Miranda, and she is visibly thirsty for that water.
Oh yeah.
If you take my meaning, there's one look she has on her face at one point when she's just like, yeah, she's into this.
She's like dancing.
She wants some row.
Dancing around while he's in the tube.
That's fun. It's a fun date.
And someone sees her as she is hanging out with the creature. Oh yeah, she's like dancing with her mop.
Little mop dance.
Someone sees her doing
you do.
this, and it's Dr. Hofstadter, who I mentioned earlier.
Right.
And then we follow him home from work.
Lots of following people home and to work. Yeah.
Great.
And when he gets home from work, and here's why there's vodka. Can you guess why there's vodka?
He's a drunk.
Yes.
He's a Russian spy, and his real name
Oh.
is Dmitri.
Okay. Or he's a drunk.
Now, for some reason, the totally legal version I had of this movie yesterday did not have the Russian subtitles, so I'm not sure what was being said in those scenes again. But
'Cause
you can remind me.
I watched it on my Blu-ray, and honestly, I had a hard time turning on the sub. For the first half of my watching, everything was fine. There were subtitles for the Russian, there was subtitles for the stuff in ASL, and nothing else. But then something went wrong, and all the subtitling came off, so I had to turn it up so there would be subtitling for every single thing.
I'm assuming that the scene was just like he goes and there's his. No wait, is this where he's no
They're at a restaurant,
at a restaurant? Yeah,
and
he's talking to these 2 Russian associates, and I'm assuming they're like, "You got the thing? Are you
You
spying
must
for
you
us?"
must capture the creature.
Yeah.
It is an amazing thing. We want it.
Yeah.
And Dmitri is explaining to them that like I think this thing is smarter than we thought it was. It can because he's seen Eliza with it.
It has
and
emotions.
it has emotions.
Right.
It can communicate. And he's very much impressed by it and starting to I'm going to say him, not it. He's starting to realize that the creature
Very much impressed by Doug.
Right.
Doug's character is credited as Amphibian Man, so that's
Yeah,
that's what I'm
Amphibian
going to call him.
Perfect.
And so then we get a scene at the loading docks of the building, and most of it's mostly men working in the loading docks, and like Eliza and Zelda, these are working class people, mostly black men, and they ask Zelda like, "Hey Zelda, you want to smoke?" And she's like, I shouldn't. It's bad for me. And they're like, yeah, but it's fun. And she's like, yeah, okay. And there's all these signs everywhere that say, like, do not smoke, no smoking, no smoking. And Zelda says, want the camera see us? And the guy says, no, over here it's a blind spot. Camera can't see us over here. And Eliza takes note of this. The camera has a blind spot.
Okay.
And then she goes to check up on the Amphibian Man and sees that he's been very brutally beaten.
Oh yeah,
And
he's like bleeding.
Yeah,
at this point. Yeah.
he's like got this like rasping breath. He's like not at all well. He's having a hard time breathing, and
Same.
That's because he's not in the water. He's a fish man. You should.
Yeah.
You should get him in the water.
she hides. She can hear somebody coming, so she hides behind a bunch of like wheel carts or something. And it's Strickland, and he comes in and he's mad at the creature, and he starts smacking him with the cattle prod and torturing him. And he says he's visibly, specifically horrified by the sound the creature keeps making. And he says, like, why can't you talk? It's the worst fucking sound I've ever heard, this gulping noise you're making.
Okay.
And
Just so we're clear, we don't like this guy.
Right.
he's a jerk.
right.
And then his superior shows up. This guy's name is General Hoyt. And he's this, like, military brass kind of guy. And, yeah, because Strickland is a colonel, because he
Yeah.
answers to the General Hoyt. And General Hoyt is being told a little about the creature, and we're told that back in the Amazon, a lot of the native people used to worship him, and they would give him offerings and small sacrifices.
Like he was a god.
Some kind of god down there. And Hofstetler shows up, or rather Dimitri shows up, and he is clearly concerned about the creature's well-being. And he said, have you been beating him? I just showed him who was boss.
Right.
And Hofstetler explains, here's the reason they're so interested in this creature from a scientific perspective, is he can breathe in the water and in the air. And they think he might have two separate respiratory systems, basically, lungs and gills. And they're thinking that would be really useful to know a bit more about for the space race, because if they want to put someone in the moon,
Right inside.
with Josh Hutcherson, then they will need to subject that person to like all kinds of extreme.
Right.
It doesn't make a ton of sense, to be honest, because we got to the moon without it. But they think
don't know.
they think this will be really useful for getting to the moon, and General Hoyt figures that like, all right, let's vivisect him. Let's just carve him up. And
Just like kill him, carve him out.
That would-
Let's figure it out.
Yep.
And that's not good.
Hofstetler does not like
No.
this, and Eliza, who can hear all this, she does not like this either, because she, is forming an emotional connection.
She's
They're
hiding.
good friends.
Yeah.
And
They leave. They leave the room because they're like Hofstetler, like shut up, and they get on the
Yeah.
little drivey like golf carty thing down the hall. But then Hofstetler sees Eliza leave the room as well, so
Yeah.
he knows that she knows all this too. So now they're
And
like, we're gonna be secret.
there's a
buddies.
little like moment between them when they both see each other's distraught expressions. So Eliza decides that like, okay,
and then it turns into a throuple. Fishman, Eliza, and Hofstetler.
Eliza decides that like the only thing we can do is we got to break him out. Like in Free Willy, we gotta break him out. And she asks Giles if he will help. And Giles at first is very, why would I do this? This thing is not even human. What is it? And she says back to him, if we don't help, then neither are we. And
She has the best line, hand signal like of the movie, which is to summarize. Essentially, she's like, because we both can't communicate.
yeah, when he looks
vocally.
at me, he doesn't see the way I am incomplete.
Yeah.
He sees me as I am. And and Giles takes issue with her use of him instead of it. You're calling him a he. All of a sudden, it's a he. And let's see. Then we follow Giles back to work, where he has now painted the thing. It's green. The Jello is green
Jell-O's
now,
green.
but that's not good enough. And Bernie, despite fighting for him, says it's not really a good time. And Giles is not getting paid for this beautiful painting he did. So he goes to the pie shop to try to console himself. And he figures, okay, you know what? Now is as good a time as ever I'm going to make my move on the pie guy.
Hi, guy.
And just when he's about to, he says, like, they've been making conversation. He says to the guy, like, I'd like to get to know you a little better.
Well, he touches his hand.
He touches
too.
his hand. And then just as he does, a black couple come into the restaurant. And the pie guy says to them, like, you can't eat in here. You got to take your food and leave. You can't sit down here. And they're like, but the place is empty. He says, all these tables are reserved all day. This is a segregated establishment.
And he also is very aggressive about the hand touching. So
yeah, and
not
he's,
only is he super homophobic,
but he's also racist.
So we're like,
And he says to
Not his
Giles,
type.
he says to Giles, like, you should leave and don't come back. This is a family restaurant.
Cool.
Giles does not finish his pie, wipes his tongue on a piece of napkin because it's nasty, and leaves. And then he goes back to Eliza and he says, whatever this weird fish thing is, it means a lot to you, and you're the only friend I have, so I'll help. That's got to be enough.
I'm in, and then like heist movie
Nice.
music.
It is a heist movie at this point.
It is.
And then we follow Dimitri, who is checking in with his superiors, and they say, if you can catch this thing alive, that's all well and good, but we don't need to learn. What we need is for Americans not to learn, which is still Russian foreign policy. And they give him two things. One of them is it's like a small bomb. It's called an Israeli popper.
Cute.
and you put it next.
Sounds
fun.
very delicious,
Sounds
actually.
fun.
Yeah.
Put it next to a fuse box and you set it off, and then it blows up the fuse box, and then the power will go out. And the other is this big syringe full of poison.
Yes.
And they're like, all right, put the power out,
Both
kill all
great
the cameras,
options.
kill the creature with this injection. Excuse me, I'm burpy. And
We all are.
and
Danny.
that will burn him up from the inside or something, so the Americans won't be able to learn anything.
What a predicament. Now both his U.S. superiors and his Russian superiors are like, kill this thing, and he's like, but I love this thing.
I came to this country not just as a patriot, but as a scientist. I want to learn. And this is a beautiful living creature that we shouldn't kill. And then we follow, this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, we follow Strickland to a car dealership.
Oh yeah.
He is buying himself a new car, and we see the car salesman, I guess, can just tell right away, like, all of this man's insecurities, and he plays him like a fiddle and convinces him to buy this Cadillac.
That's sales, baby.
This bright green Cadillac.
It's not green, it's
no,
teal.
Teal. It's teal.
It's teal. Very manly color. 9 out of 10 successful men in America drive a Cadillac. The Cadillac is the car of the future, and you seem like a man on his way there. And at first, Strickland is very like, I don't know,
gotta go buy a
I'm just browsing, and then just cut to him driving the car.
That's funny.
It's like in a sitcom. He's just so immediately duped. And he arrives at work, and Fleming is saying like, oh, that's a beautiful car you have there, sir, and that shade of green is so striking. It's not green, it's teal.
Right.
And so, right, we've got this plot to capture the creature. It's Eliza and Giles, and they've rented a van, I guess. They've turned into this like fake laundry van.
Yeah, and also Giles is like, because he's an artist, he's been like creating fake like IDs to like get access.
And he wants to put his age as only 51.
Yeah.
And Eliza's
She's
like,
like-
no, older.
And then he's like 54, and then he's like 57. And he's like, I can pull it off.
Yeah. With the toupee, I can pull it off.
Yeah.
And we'll synchronize our watches like they do in the spy movies. And then we get a scene where Strickland's in his office, and he's got this wall. It's like surveillance cameras everywhere, and he's got this wall of screens, and he sees that Eliza is right outside his office. So he spills some water deliberately so that a cleaning person will have to come in. And while she's cleaning, he's like, are you completely mute? Can you squawk a little bit? I want you to know that it doesn't bother me that you can't talk. I actually like it. I could make you squawk.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
Michael Shannon, an amazing actor, just is an uncomfortable person. Anytime
Yeah.
I see him on screen,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, I don't want to meet that
He's great
man.
at playing
Yeah.
villains. It's sexual harassment. She does
Right.
not have to take it, and she gets right out of there. And then, let's see, Dimitri is begging Strickland one last chance to save the creature, but that's not happening. And during this scene, Strickland is reading a book called The Power of Positive Thinking, which I really
Cute.
like. And he really is a needless dick about protocol. He's like, knock before you come in. Now sit down. And he makes it very clear that like he's got his ego invested in this. There's no convincing him not to kill the creature.
He also very much hates Baltimore, wants to get out of there.
Yeah. Once they've vivisected him, he's just gonna leave town. And he says, "Bob, you should be happy to get out of here. We'll be done soon."
So then I think it's heist time.
It's heist time.
Heist time.
And Eliza sneaks the amphibian man into a big laundry cart. And she's on her way out to meet Giles at the loading dock when she runs into Zelda, who has figured out more or less what she's doing. And says, don't do this, Eliza. This is going to be so much trouble. And Eliza's like, sorry, I got to. So Zelda's like, all right, fuck it. I guess I have to help you with this then.
Yeah.
And Giles is at the loading dock, and the security guy is not letting him through because something is very suspicious with this ID. And he, remember when he changed the age on the card, the paint is starting to wear off a little bit in his fingers. So he's about to make a call to security, which is to say to Strickland, when suddenly Dimitri shows up with that injection of poison, and he kills the guard.
Because he kind of caught on privy to their plan. He's like, okay, I'm going to help you.
Yeah, because he saw when he was talking to Strickland, he saw that one of the screens, the camera was clearly moving in a way that it shouldn't. Strickland missed this because it was Eliza was moving one of the cameras to maximize the blind spot that we established. And so they get the creature out. They smash into the Cadillac on the way out and knock out a taillight. And Strickland is very, very displeased. And before they leave, Dimitri gives them all these things they'll need to keep the creature safe or healthy.
Yeah, basically like something that make basically a swamp water.
Yeah, it's like this big
thing.
tub of what looks like kale chips or something. You've got to mix this
Essentially,
in,
yeah.
and you got to make sure
You gotta
that
drop one pebble of food.
you need enough. You need to make sure the water is salty enough for him. And so they get him back to Eliza's apartment, and they just install him in the bathtub and fill it with kale. And
Kale water.
he starts breathing a little better, and Giles is like, "Oh my god, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, this creature," and immediately understands why Eliza cares so much.
And so now, like, creature is just chilling out. Strickland is now trying to investigate and find out
he
who
finds
did this.
he finds the Israeli pauper next to the blown fuse box. And he and Fleming are talking about it, and they figure, like, this must have been an elite strike force, a team of at least 10 men, I think.
Cute.
You know, well, let's synchronize our watch like in the movies.
So cute.
Yeah, so Giles has been spending his days like drawing the fishman, and then there's a scene where Giles like falls asleep while drawing him, and the fishman like steps out.
This is my
into the
least
apartment.
favorite scene in the movie.
I know, it's sad. So she steps out. One thing we haven't established yet is Giles, right? Giles has.
I've mentioned this once or
the
twice.
cat.
He's got a bunch of cats.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of cats. Yeah.
And one of the cats gets eaten.
No.
And
By-
it breaks my heart.
By Doug.
that.
Doug Jones.
Doug eats
Doug Jones actually ate a cat for this.
Stop.
No, so Fishman eats cat.
He eats a cat.
He like escapes.
And on the way out, he like
And
because Giles wakes up to see this, and he says, "No, stop!" And the creature like slashes at his arm on the way out, and it gives him this nasty cut. And Eliza gets home and sees, Giles is in a panic, and he says, he's gone somewhere. I'm not even mad. He's a wild animal. Of course, he's gonna see,
Right.
and he's a source of protein. Just go find him. And he's gone into the theater downstairs. And
it's also established kind of earlier on, just so that this isn't weird, is that this theater is like on its last legs. Like,
not many
it gets-
people are
and
coming.
No one goes into
all they're
there.
showing is old biblical epics. No one's coming to see them.
And there's usually like maybe max 4 people. So
Yeah.
that's why this Fishman is just standing in
the
the,
box
middle
up,
of
the
the theater.
ticket
Right.
guy is falling asleep in his chair. So
Yeah.
he didn't notice.
Darn.
Naked Fishman standing watching. What's playing? I don't think
The
I
story
made
of Ruth, which is not one of the better remembered biblical epics of the day,
If
but
this were a worse movie, it would be The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
too obvious, man. But they're showing the story of Ruth, and Eliza has been looking at her calendar, and she sees she goes to the she goes to the canal, and she figures like I'm gonna have to release him into the canal once the next big rain happens, and that's supposed to happen on October 10th. From her calendar, which, side note, is the day after my and Guillermo's birthday.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
And let me see.
So yeah, Strickland's doing the investigation. He's interviewing like employees and stuff. Does he interview Hofstetler first, or
He doesn't interview Hofstetler yet, but when he interviews Eliza and Zelda, he makes it pretty clear he is suspicious of Hofstetler. Mm-hmm. And he's very rude to them. And on the way out, he says, like, why am I questioning the fucking help, the shit cleaners? And so Eliza says to him something in sign language, which the subtitles inform us is fuck you. But he doesn't know what she's saying, and
Right.
is very flustered by this. And then he's...
also his fingers are like rotting? They're
Nice.
They have not connected to the rest of his hand. They did not take.
Yeah, and she runs into Hofstetler, and he says, like, is the creature doing okay? And she says, yes, he is. You're a good man. And he says, my name isn't Dr. Hofstetler, it's Dimitri. So she knows that he's a spy now. And
Which is the vodka, by the way.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why there's
Right.
vodka.
Right. That's why.
And so she's patching up the cut on Giles's arm, and as she's doing that, the creature comes in and he like puts his hand over his arm.
And he's also petting the cat and is like, okay, cats aren't food
Stay
now.
away from the cat. Stay away from the cat. And he puts his hand on Giles's arm and then rubs it over his forehead. And Giles is very confused by this. But then the next morning he wakes up and his hair has grown back. And it takes him a minute to realize he's not wearing his toupee.
Aw,
And he opens the bandages and he sees that it's like the cut was never even there.
cute.
And also, so while he does that, and he also, like, they put their foreheads together, I think. Or no, yeah.
Yeah, he puts his hand on his scalp.
Yeah. But I think he glows just a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
he's a little bit bioluminescent.
Yeah.
And
Amphibian man, Doug Joe.
yeah.
Right.
Now, up to this point, this has been kind of a fairly standard, like, oh, we got to protect this magical creature story. It's not too far off from something like Harry and the Hendersons or Free Willy. What do you think happens next?
He gets kidnapped.
No,
I don't
not
know.
yet.
I don't know.
Technically, he's already kidnapped twice now.
So he's living in Eliza's bathtub, and Eliza is on her chaise lounge, and she's like, oh, what do I do? And she realizes she can't sleep until she does something very important.
Okay.
And that is that she gets naked and goes into the bathtub.
She wants
and
that fish.
fucks. And they
Okay.
fuck.
There isn't a graphic scene of it. They just get in the bathtub, and then that's what's about to happen.
It is the moment you've been
I mean,
waiting
he's a naked
Right.
fishman with
Yeah.
We
I should stress, he's been naked the whole time. He does not have any, like, big floppy penis walking around. And in fact, that is key to the very next scene, because Eliza goes to work, and Zell is like, why are you smiling? You're in a good mood about something. Oh my God, you had sex, didn't you? How? And Eliza explains through a hand gesture I will make that will not be audible, not be visible, not be anything on the podcast, but I'll do it anyway.
Interesting.
And she explained basically that although he has no visible genitals,
They come out.
they come out. It opens up.
Yep.
And Zelda is much impressed by this.
Much impressed.
that's
That's
useful.
fun.
That's useful.
Yeah.
And so Dimitri checks in with his bosses and tells them, like, oh yeah, I killed the amphibian man. We didn't learn anything from it. I think it was a mistake. And he starts to worry that we're not sure whether they believe him, but either way, he starts to feel like he's kind of a loose end, and they're probably going to want to whack him either way. And he's very suspicious of everything.
Don't be
Yeah.
suspicious.
We cut back in with Strickland, who is at home watching Dobie Gillis with his family, which was an old sitcom. And he's like completely unable to focus on anything that's going on with them. So he goes out to his car and he just sits in his car and he looks at his fingers, which are now like
Black, essentially.
Yeah.
Just completely rotten.
and he's like squeezing them a little bit and something comes
Stuff
out of
comes
there.
out.
Some probably looks like this drink.
And
Great.
Eliza is now like in Calvin and Hobbes or something, decides she's going to flood the bathroom, and she puts towels under the doors and turns on all the faucets, and the whole bathroom's flooded, and water starts dripping into the theater below. And so the landlord makes an angry call to Giles and is like, you go check in on find out what's going on in her apartment. And Giles walks in and he sees them embraced in what I can only
he is
assume is
also glowing again,
post-coital bliss.
like blue bioluminescent.
Yeah.
And
glow.
Giles is just like, all right, fine.
By the way, the creature is not green at all.
Okay.
He's a little green.
Well, I read that he's not green at all because Guillermo del Toro wanted to instill green as like this really bleak, unappetizing future. Is the color? That's what the color green represents. And
that
the
makes
creature
sense.
is actually more blue and
Blue and kind of gray.
grayish, but he's actually no green in him at all, apparently. But
Okay.
Darn.
Where it looks like he's green, it's a very like dark and warm and vivid green.
yeah, so
Okay.
As opposed to the more the teal
Yeah.
and
Right.
the
neon.
think of like a 1960s coffee machine. It's like that shade of like dull and, as you said, unappealing, kind of dystopian, lifeless green. And so
Yeah, at this point, what happens next? Well,
Dimitri checks in with his superiors once again.
once more.
He's called by his superiors. He's told when he's going to be extracted, but Fleming is parked right outside his apartment and is keeping an eye on him. Side note, Dimitri's apartment is in Hamilton.
Nice.
It's
a long commute to Baltimore.
It is. I was one time I was in Hamilton with like some time to kill before my bus home, and I was just like, I'm gonna go to all the Shape of Water locations I can find right here. So I went to Dimitri's apartment, and General Hoyt shows up at Strickland's office, and he's talking about how you got one chance to unfuck this mess and get this creature back. And Strickland like goes into the bathroom and starts talking to himself in the mirror, and he's trying to pump himself up like, you get results.
This is America.
You provide. You're a man. This is what men do. You deliver. And his fingers are like purple at this point.
Right.
And so the day has finally come to return the amphibian man to the sea.
Nice.
And Eliza doesn't want to say goodbye to him. And they're sitting down at this table, and she starts, it's hard to describe this moment.
Well, earlier in the film, they watched her and Giles are like watching a musical
Yeah, it's
on
an old
TV.
musical.
And what's it called?
I can't remember.
But it's the woman singing the song.
You'll never know. And Eliza has this like dream sequence where she is now singing this song, and she is able to speak and sing.
Like classic black and white, like, flat Hollywood look.
Yeah, and she's wearing this like
set.
sequin dress and dancing with the creature, and there's an
the
orchestra
fishman.
in the background. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
But as it fades back to reality and color creeps back in, she's like weeping because she does not want to say goodbye to him. And she's not sure if he can really wrap his head around that. And he's also getting sicker and is starting to like cough up blood, and like he needs to go back to the sea. And Zelda offers to call Dr. Hofstetler, but he's already on his way to meet with his bosses.
To get extracted.
But he's not going to get extracted. He's going to get extracted from life.
Yeah.
And he gets shot a couple times, but then Strickland shows up.
Because he was following
Because he's
him.
been following him, and he kills the Russians, and he finds Hofstetler is not dead yet. He's been shot, and he's got a big hole in his face.
Darn.
And
He basically, tortures him for information.
he like grabs him by the hole in his face and drags him along.
Ew.
But he says, I need names, ranks, and locations
Ew.
of the men involved with this heist.
Yeah.
And
It's
he
your
just laughs
requisite
at him.
Del Toro scene of the bad guy torturing somebody.
Yeah. And he just laughs at him. He's like, no names, no ranks. They
just
clean.
Which he shouldn't have said.
No, why would he say that? He's dying.
He's dying, and then he dies.
Yeah.
And those are his last words. So
As if he's like, this is a riddle you're never going to get.
Right.
yeah. I'll take it to the grave. I'll give you the answer right now. And so by this point, Strickland has he's cruising around in Fleming's car, which he kicked Fleming out of. Poor Fleming. And Fleming has been complaining about the smell of his fingers.
Great.
And so let's see. He goes to Eliza's house, but she's gone. No, he goes to Zelda's house.
Yeah.
He goes to Zelda's house, where we finally meet Brewster, her piece of shit husband.
Nice.
And Zelda was actually preparing to go help Eliza with the fish.
She's on her way out. And
Release.
Okay.
Strickland shows up and he starts threatening her. And in order to prove a point, he pulls off his fingers.
He just rips them
He
off.
just rips them right off.
Okay.
It wasn't taking, so like, okay, sure.
Yeah, may as well just admit
And
this
he's
isn't
like,
working.
He's like threatening her.
And eventually, she to her credit, she's terrified, but she does not talk. But then her husband steps up and says, like, it was the mute girl. The mute girl took the fish thing.
I heard my wife talking on the phone, and then there's a funny little scene afterwards, just like you know.
Thank you very
you
much,
don't
Mr.
speak all
Fuller.
these years, and I can't shut your damn mouth up.
Yeah.
All right.
And so
That's
Strickland.
what marriage is. That's what marriage is like,
It's a
apparently.
bad marriage.
in the '60s.
Yeah. So then he goes to Eliza's house, but she's already left with the creature. But he does find from her calendar where she wrote, like, canal, rains come. So he figures out where she's going.
Canal.
That was a mistake. There's only one canal. Did you know that?
Yes.
Just one. In Baltimore,
world.
I guess. I don't
In
know.
the world.
I've been to Baltimore.
I
Never
haven't.
actually.
No, me neither.
I passed through it. I was like just around the corner.
So we're moving into our finale at this point, and Zelda and Giles are at the canal, and they've got the creature, and he's not doing so well. And they're about to lower him into the ocean, and the creature looks at Eliza and he says to her, this is something she said in sign language before. He says, like, you, me, together. And she has to gesture like, no, not me. We can't be together. And then Strickland shows up, and he shoots her, and he shoots the creature, and he punches Giles in the face.
Okay.
He should have shot Giles.
He should have shot Giles, because Giles gets back up and hits him in the face with a beam.
Some sort of piece of wood, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Nice.
Just he got it.
Yeah, there's like some construction or something going
Yeah,
on.
because there is.
Not actively going on, but it's like a site where it's... And he grabs a big like wooden beam and he smacks him in the face with it. And then Giles runs to check on Eliza and the amphibian man, who have both been shot. And the amphibian man starts glowing again. And he stands up because his healing power is kicking in. He stands up and
Like
he's...
fucking Wolverine.
Yeah. Apparently Del Toro
Yes.
told him to stand like a matador. And he's got this very like
Visual.
macho, like
Yeah.
wide stance.
Chest puffed out.
Yeah,
Nice.
Come
it's
at me, bro.
rad as
Come
hell.
at me, bro.
And Strickland has gotten up by this point from being hit in the face, but he does not stay up because the creature just like walks over to him and pulls his goddamn neck out.
Cute.
Yeah, it just kills the fuck out of him. And Strickland's last words are, "Fuck, you are a god."
Nice.
Yeah, that's all he says.
And then the amphibian man walks back over to Giles and Eliza, and Eliza's not doing so hot, so he grabs her and he jumps into the water, and he starts glowing again as his healing power kicks in. He's trying to heal Eliza, and as he does that, the scars on her neck
Oh.
open up
Oh.
and turn into gills,
Aha.
You got it.
and they kiss, and
They are together.
They are together, and Giles has this monologue about how, like, and I don't know, but I think that they lived happily ever after under the ocean. And it reminds me of a poem I read long ago about how when you're in love, unable to perceive, I don't remember the exact words of the poem, but
Unable to
perceive the shape of you.
you.
I perceive you all around me.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like when you're in love with
Interesting.
someone, they fill your whole world the same way that water takes on the shape of whatever vessel it.
Right.
And that's why the
Right.
movie is called Hellboy.
Shape of
Help. It's called Doug
Shape of
Jones
Water.
Goes to the Sea.
Very interesting. I would love to know how, just how.
How sexy.
How
It's so
sexy.
sexy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very sexy.
He's got
very
a pretty
sexy.
like ripped
Yeah.
body, you know, like he probably didn't, but he's got like, you know, when they talk about the superhero guys talk about
Oh, like
they have
0%
to
body fat?
dehydrate themselves before every scene so that they just looked as ripped as possible.
Oh,
That's
Right.
what he looks like, just
Right.
but fish.
Yeah, and
But
he's,
fish
he's very
version.
skinny and slender,
Well,
but in
damn.
a really like muscular, taut, wiry kind
Yeah.
of way.
Yeah.
Dang.
And so this movie, one thing I love about it is it's got a little bit of everything. There's some comedy elements, there's a monster movie, there's a romance, there's a spy drama.
It's beautiful
Right.
too. It's very nice looking movie.
Oh yeah,
It's stylized. Very stylized.
all of Del Toro's movies.
I will have to watch it.
Yeah, one day you will have
I
to.
will. I will
will.
actually literally have to watch it.
It's really
so-
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like an interesting thing to observe. I will say that at the very least.
There have been so many movies where a fish monster man has a sexual interest in a human woman. I mean, movies where
She's
any
not actually human though, really.
ambiguous, but
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah, is it
she
like-
reads as human for
That's-
most.
that's
Like
what
what
I
do you
wanna know.
what do you think, both of you? Do you think she was Fishwoman, that's why she was found by the river, blah
right.
blah blah, or do you think he's turned her into Fishwoman?
This
by
is
the
my
end?
elaborate
was Fish
theory.
Woman.
My elaborate theory. All right, one, the movie is set in the eastern United States. Two, it is set in 1963. Sally Hawkins was in her early 40s when she made this, so presumably her character would have been born in the 1920s. In H.P. Lovecraft's short novella, The Shadow over Innsmouth, in the town of Innsmouth, Massachusetts, people are fucking fish people and having babies by them. This book was written in the 20s. The town gets burned down at the end of the book, and all the fishmen run away back into the sea.
Yeah.
I think that Eliza is a survivor of the Innsmouth massacre, and she is an Innsmouth person.
That's what I'm here for.
interesting.
I like that
And
theory.
in the book, much like Shape of Water, ends with the hero forsaking humanity and returning to the sea to be
Fish.
Yeah,
To be fish.
it's better
Yeah.
down where it's wetter. Take it from me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's my theory. Eliza is from Innsmouth, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
All right.
I would believe that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not thinking that he turned her.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
the shape of the scars
Yeah.
is so
Yeah, yeah.
deliberate.
Too convenient.
It's two.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah.
convenient. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I would say. What's my rating?
What's your okay? How many hidden fish dicks do you give this movie?
Oh man! Oh, how fun! Okay. Hee hee hee. Ooh hoo hoo hoo. Okay, I'm gonna give this a big, massive, venular, hidden fish dick. That is, I hate describing this.
Describe the
Moist.
fish dick. Ooh,
A nice, big, moist, venular
tastes like kale.
fish dick.
Just one big one.
It's hairless.
Yeah.
Slimy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
one.
You don't
but
make
I
it
mean,
sound
I think
appealing.
you only need one.
Out of one,
Really.
yeah.
I
just-
really think you only need
Once
one.
you go fish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you return to the sea.
That's all there is for
I just
you.
because there's so many movies where a woman is being pursued by a monster who's into her, and it's nice to see that reciprocated.
Right. We
this
like
is,
that.
Yeah, this is woman.
Unconditional.
Woman basically nagged Fishman until
She's
Right.
into it.
his death.
Yeah.
She's into it.
Yeah. Sweet.
And they eat eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Lots of that's. It's like
Eggies.
how does a movie where a slimy fishman makes love to a woman, where also they eat a lot of eggs. The smells of this movie must be just god awful.
Right. No.
And the
absolutely.
rotting
it's
fingers
sexy.
also.
Oh, yeah, then
it's
there's-
sexy,
That's not
but it's
sexy.
smelly.
No, the fingers are not sexy.
But
They are-
what's that's
Yeah.
fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This was The Shape of Water.
This has been.
It's one of my favorite movies. I really like it.
Funny enough, it's like the shape of a fish dick, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will never learn the shape
No,
of his.
of his.
No.
Although after the movie
Amphibian.
came out, one of those companies that makes like weird novelty, weirdly shaped dildos immediately made their sexy amphibian
Their sexy
man.
amphibian Doug
We
Jones.
love
Yeah.
to hear it.
Yep.
It's great.
Del Toro was uncomfortable with this news.
It's. I mean, when you just hearing this movie described, isn't it kind of amazing that it won Best Picture at the Oscars?
It's amazing it got
Yeah,
made.
actually.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
true
incredible.
There's a story I heard from when Del Toro was first developing the movie. He already knew he wanted Sally Hawkins for the lead, and he ran into her at a party and started describing his idea for it, like, "Oh, I want you to be in this movie for me." And he said, because it was at a party, he had a few drinks at this point, and he's described it as not a movie whose premise makes you sound less drunk.
Fair.
too. It's true. Yeah.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
Well, that was The Shape of
was The
Water.
Shape of Water,
Danny,
guys.
thank you so much for coming back on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
In person,
In
live
person.
and in person.
First time actually here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ever. This is, by the way, everyone, this is our new apartment, me and Sam's. It's not ready to show off yet, but we will show it off someday. I will do a
Little
walking tour live.
Yeah. That'd be cute.
But yeah, where can people find you online? We've talked about it at the beginning, but
bit. Yeah.
let's bring it back up.
Let's
here.
bring that back up. I am at Mutant Museum on YouTube and on Twitter. I'm at Danny Can't Draw Well on Instagram, which tells
Because
you a lot
can't
about.
draw well.
I sure can't, but I do anyway. But the
Have
main
you've drawn Fishman
Have
by
you-
this time,
you-
right?
Driven.
Driven,
a little while ago, but I'll draw them again.
do a
I'll draw them
redraw,
again.
yeah.
And but the main thing I do social media wise is my dramatic readings on YouTube, and I implore people to check them out. I think they're fun.
And plug your Patreon, plug the.
Oh
the
yes,
pay.
Patreon at I believe that's also just at Mutant Museum, and there's all kinds of cool, fun benefits. You get to see my videos early. You get full unedited green screen footage.
Nice.
You get your name at the end of the video, of course.
Right.
You get to see all my flubbed lines in the green screen and all my bad takes.
That's what you pay for, baby.
And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, Haven't Seen a Podcast, and on Twitter, haven't_seen_it. We're also on TikTok, in which I need to post more on, but
gotta get on TikTok.
It's just too many social medias to have to figure out. And YouTube, you can watch our live streams on YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, and you can watch the video episodes on YouTube as well.
Will this be on YouTube?
This will be on YouTube live live video
of course.
episode. And on Spotify, all the platforms. You know it. And on our website, haven'tseenapodcast.com, where I'm going to be crossing this off the list. Yeah, and also take a look out for our mid-month movie reviews. We've been doing those for a few weeks now, or a few episodes now. So check them out. We got Oscar month movie review coming out next week after this episode. So look out for it.
I will.
Check it out.
Yeah.
And you should too.
You should as well. And on that note, you guys, a fuck a fish.
Do it. Fuck that fish.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.